All right, welcome back. We are game 3004 in the winter 2021 semester, and it's week 9, part 1 of our broadcast. And I want to talk about the project update and the alpha release details for today. So let's talk about where we are. We finished the first half of semester. We're into the second half of semester. And if you notice, we're at week 9. This week, your third playable release is due. Last week, what we did when we were together, we did a project checkpoint. I think you guys, a lot of you did very well in the stuff that you put together. I really like some of the projects I saw. Some great potential with the stuff that you guys showed me. So what we're doing this week is, again, this week, third playable release is due this Sunday at midnight. And as well, on the heels of that is the third peer review. That is due. Notice that there is no weekly report this week because it very well could be that you guys did not get together during break. And so I'm not going to make you do a weekly report this week. So that is, again, where we are from project components due this week. Other items due, your 7th weekly report is due next week. That's your first one back from break. And then your alpha release is due week 11, but I'm going to talk about it today, right? So let's talk about this right now. And that's what I really want to talk about. All right, so let's bring that into play. So I've put this up online for you, but this is the recording for Project Part 8 Alpha Release. This one should be almost a shippable game at this point, right? So one of the things that you want to do is you want to make this game, again, this part, 90% of your assets should be there, as well as it should be what the focus of the alpha release is to convert and optimize your current WebGL project for mobile. So that is the focus. So up until now, you've been building or constructing a game for WebGL. You really didn't care so much about mobile. I was just getting you to do the game design elements and getting your assets ready and all that kind of stuff and testing it and all those kind of fun things without the rigors of doing it within a mobile framework. But now what's happened is we're moving into mobile, and so your alpha release, which is due in a couple weeks, is going to be all with mobile. And there's going to be a couple of additional things that I'm going to ask you to do. The two things I'm asking you to add are a quest system that should be fully functional for this release. My recommendation for the quest system, although it's not mandatory, is some kind of tutorialization. So show your player how to play the game with a simple quest system. Don't make it so many steps. Make it within in-band in order for you to show how to play, as well as loading, saving, and pausing the game. That should also work at this point as well. That's in a couple weeks. So there's a couple of things to do here. Your group will create a 5th official iteration of your game design document where you update your game concept for mobile, right? So common requirements are your menu screen. And your menu screen, you have to make sure that it's optimized for mobile. I'm going to say this a bunch of times, so be prepared. Your option screen, well, this one will be, you're going to have some key mapping options for your WebGL game, right? And what we want you to do is for your key mapping option should also enable right and left-handed support for mobile devices. So what this will do is it'll allow you to move your on-screen buttons and controls to different sides of the screen to support right and left-handedness, so we can make your game more all-inclusive. Okay, so that's what we're going to do with your option screen. Your gameplay screen is where your main game occurs, and what we need to do is 90% of your assets should be functioning now inside of your game, but you're going to ensure that your on-screen controls allow your player to be controlled on a mobile device. All right, so that's something that you want to do. So on-screen controls are something you're going to have to focus on for this build. Your game must also include an inventory system, and the inventory system should function with mobile, so make sure that that works. Your health system should function already. I'm just leaving that in there. And your gameplay level must include the ability for you to pause, save, and load your game at this point. And my recommendation, which we're going to talk about briefly today, is the use of scriptable objects. So that's something that I recommend you do for pausing, saving, and loading your game. I think it's a great solution, especially for mobile. where scriptable objects are compatible with both desktop, WebGL, all of them, and mobile. So that's, I think, the way to go. Your game will include sound effects and music, and make sure you test with mobile. From a game-specific type requirements, all 3D platforms must be working at this point. All 3 hazards must be functional, and your goal must be working. From an isometric tower defense game, the expectation is that all towers should be fully functional. All enemy loadouts at this point should be functional for the alpha release. Okay, even if it's rough, they should function. I'm not looking for perfection, and we'll do kind of bug hunting over the beta in the final release. Okay, and then finally, for your sandbox crafting survival game, you'll be still working with the single theme biome, but again, 90% of your level should be ready for testing at this point. Make sure that you optimize your randomization, if you will, or your procedural generation. Make sure you optimize this for mobile. So keep in mind what it's like from a memory management perspective and performance. So don't make your level like massive, because again, you're playing it on a mobile device. All right. Actually, that goes the same with pretty much everybody here. Day and night cycle or countdown. Again, test your date and time of day cycle that it works for mobile, because again, sometimes shaders, like for example, a color grading and all that kind of stuff, may not work properly on a mobile device. And destructible environment should work as well. And your animation, make sure that your particle effects and animation works for mobile for this thing. Your 5th draft should include menu and screen descriptions for your mobile build. So make sure you include screenshots and that kind of stuff in your GDD. So there's lots for everybody here. And one thing I'm asking you to do is install or test your game out. Test your game out with on a device emulator, so you can use LD Player when you do your video, and or an Android device where you can use something like screencasting software, which we're going to talk about today in lab, called Visor. All right, so one of those 2 things is okay for your demo. And then version control is as before. Instead of deploying live to a site, I'm going to ask you to deploy to a device emulator or mobile device. So that's going to be the change. And your project management is the same. Submission requirements the same, except for now you need to have screenshots and everything else for your backlog. And of course, your PDF document should be version 5 of your game design document. So that is really it in a nutshell. It's worth 100 out of 100 points. This is the breakdown. And again, this is worth slightly more. So double what a normal release would be worth. 10% of your final mark is what this is. And this is due 2 short weeks from now on Sunday, March 28th at midnight. Okay. Any questions around your alpha release? So I wanted to kind of bring that to you first, because I wanted to first talk about this. And I think this was a, kind of a thing we need to talk about before we move on to anything else. So again, this week, remember that your 3rd playable release is due. You're out of playables after this. And what that means by out of playables is you've got most of the game working. In fact, when you go to alpha, you're almost in early access kind of territory, almost. Okay. Not quite. I would say your first beta, which is the only one you're coming up with this semester, is probably very close to an early access game. And if not, as an example, your final release should definitely be in early access territory, which means you can probably share it on things like Steam and those kind of things if you're interested in trying it out, or at least itch.io, which is probably recommended. At least you can get someone to download it, try it, give you feedback, all that kind of stuff, get excitement going. If you've got a unique concept, I think it's a great thing to do. And we'll talk about that as we approach the end of semester. All right, so that is the stuff that's due. I'm going to stop this recording now, and I'm going to start talking about the next part, which is mostly around your quest system and your scriptable objects, which we're going to get into in the lab, if I can do that. All right, so let's stop this one. Okay, awesome. So